Hello, welcome to Libertarian Drinking Coffee Live. It's a bit past 3 p.m. on the East Coast and middle of the week, 3 p.m. on the East Coast. What does that mean? It's got to be me talking Libertarians. And of course, I have coffee. And of course, it's live. But today I have with me, again, people always tell me the same thing. Larry, you know what? I would vote for you guys. I would. But you guys don't have anybody running. You never have any good candidates running. You never have that. Well, you know what? You're wrong. And I'm going to prove you right now because I have someone right now who is running locally in Kansas for the state Senate. She is trying to make things better in her state, local, showing people what we should be doing, right? That's the best part. The one, the only, Olivia Hayse. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing amazing. For those of you who want to follow her, please follow Olivia on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, The Mama Marketer. Please follow her there so you can support her campaign and support her. And if you want to see what she's doing, you can also go to her website, oliviahayse.com. And Hayse is spelled, for you listening, Hayse. That is the cool way of spelling Hayse. Hayse is the cool way. So, Olivia, tell me, there are so many ways you can make impact in the liberty movement, so many things you could have done, but you chose to run for state Senate. Why?
That's a great question and one I've answered on the trail a little bit already. So my party has approached me to run for office in the past, and it always didn't quite feel right, wasn't the right time or the right race, But what I've seen happen here locally is I've seen momentum around Libertarian candidates actually really grow. We hosted our convention here in Wichita. So I'm just outside of Wichita, Kansas. We hosted state convention here in 2022, and it was one of our best attended conventions ever. We were able to have Spike. We were able to have Spike and Joe here. And so a lot of people, Spike came here on his campaign trail. So he was kind of the first time anyone had ever seen a VP candidate. So that helped, and we've been building since then. And then, of course, our current mayor of Wichita is technically speaking a libertarian. And so
I remember that. That's right. I remember that story. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll ask a question that people are asking before we get there. Is she being liberty leaning? Is she?
Not really.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was hoping we'd get someone who would be liberty leaning.
Yeah, okay. I was fortunate enough to meet with her leading up to the race, and I really am rooting for her as another female in politics, another minority. Sure. I just wish she would lean into libertarianism a little bit more because I think it's so good. So far, there hasn't been anything like super egregious, but there are some things potentially coming down the pike that are going to be really hard to explain and understand. But either way, her win, on a national scale, that made news, right? So people in my area, they're seeing reasonable libertarian candidates. They're seeing not just me, but other people here in Sedgwick County that are very active in politics and serving on boards and that type of thing. So there's just kind of been momentum around people, kind of their impersonation, what they're thinking in their heads of libertarians has kind of been shifting.
Oh, I see. That's so you're taking advantage of that piece.
Exactly. Yeah.
How smart you are. Look how smart you are. I like that. That's great. That is great. That makes total sense. Okay. So did you pick Senate because you thought you could make the most impact locally, or because that was the timing was right, or both?
So I actually just kind of ended up in this specific race. I was approached by not only my party, but I'm an advisor with the Kansas Cannabis Coalition and just some different different people in the cannabis movement. Our Senate president has been blocking cannabis for years now. And so everybody is still trying to find somebody to run against him. So I was originally looking at really challenging him head on, right? But the state of Kansas redid our district maps. So I'm like 1 mile outside of this guy's district map. So that's why I decided to stick with Senate, stick with challenging the incumbent Republican, change the race slightly, but not a whole lot, right? So I think that's where I am not in city limits. I live in a township. I'm out in the rural. So county or state is kind of my local race that I could realistically even be in. So this just happened to come up before any county races. So
it's amazing. So now tell me about this race. Is it you against the Democrat, you against Republican, you against both, you by yourself with no one?
That would be awesome. It's
Yes.
actually shaping up right now. Now, there are some things in motion, but it's shaping up right now to be a three-way race. So we've got the incumbent Republican, and then we have a Democrat challenger, and then we have me as well. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited about that.
So in this specific district, is it heavily gerrymandered to where like Democrat always win, Republican always win, or is it kind of more of a 50-50? Where is it usually in this specific district?
Oh, in my district and in Kansas as a whole, we have had a veto-proof Republican supermajority since like 1993.
I know the feeling, except the opposite here in New York. I know the feeling.
Yes. Yeah. And that's one thing that's one thing as far as like why I'm here and why I'm making an impact. There are a lot of people that for years have felt not seen and not heard by their leaders. So, I mean, we're talking about the cannabis groups. There's a whole lot of women's rights groups that I'm a part of. There are a lot of pride groups that I'm a part of. And so when we started really looking at the numbers, when you put together all of those marginalized groups that have felt unseen and unheard for so long, that's a pretty decent sized number. So that's a little bit behind the strategy.
So you're doing coalition building, which I love. You're saying all the right things, Olivia. I love it. Excellent. Before I ask you this question, I want to take a couple of comments. Michael Voss is watching. He runs the No Sound Bites Allowed podcast on the weekends. He says, Libertarians in Kansas. I didn't know that. Interesting. But yes, I think a lot of people think Kansas is just red. Yeah. Right? Isn't that an image?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're the Bible Belt. For crying out loud, like we really are. Right. But we have really seen, I was going to pull up, I have in my notes somewhere, I have the current. So in my district alone, and this is probably going to sound small compared to some of you other guys, but in my district, so District 4, I have 6,300 registered Libertarians. So that's not nothing. Yeah.
That's huge. That's, oh my God. In all of New York State, we had 30,000.
Oh, wow.
So that's huge. I wish I had 6,000 in one district. That'd be amazing. Our largest chunk in any district in New York State is about 1,000.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. See, I always thought we were pulling small numbers, but that's great. What's interesting about Kansas, though, is that we are the Bible Belt, we are rural, and we have seen recently through different ballot measures and stuff that have come up, we have seen, we were one of the first states to vote on a constitutional amendment to allow abortion or not. And I remember. And it did not go the way that people thought it was going to go. Yeah, it failed, famously failed. And that was a bipartisan effort of all these groups that I've continued to build with since then, working on that. And what we saw was that in the rural parts of Kansas, they might not be the people that show up for every single vote, right? But they will show up when they see an act of aggression or the government taking too much. And even though maybe on paper they're not registered Libertarian, it was front page of the newspaper of the Wichita Eagle one time about the Libertarian string that runs through this state. And it's people that want to live on their farms and live their lives and want to be left alone and they don't want to hurt others.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And that's why my campaign slogan is Kansas Values Libertarian Solutions, because most people that I talk to, we actually do agree once they have someone willing to explain to them, it's your land, it's your farm, it's your property, you know?
Right. Absolutely. 100%. So before we go any further, I want to grab a couple comments, but I do want to say something else. Guys, if you're watching this and you like what you're seeing, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Number one, click the like button. It does matter. Let people know that you're watching this and that it matters. If you can share this on Twitter or on X, watching on there, please do so. Share it if you can. Share it on Twitter. Share it on X. Get it out there so people can see what's going on here in Kansas, that we are making moves, that things are happening. But also, if you can, head on over to her website, oliviahayse.com. That is Hayse, Hayse. See what she's doing. And also, if you can, take a couple of minutes, see what she's doing, and donate. She does need cash. If you live in Kansas and you won't give her money, what's wrong with you? Give her some money, right? She is going to make impact. She needs door hangers. She needs signs. She needs bumper stickers. Those things all cost money. So help her out. And if you're saying, Larry, I love you. I love Olivia, but I can't do it. I don't have any cash. No worries. Then instead, follow her on Twitter, the Mama Marketer on Twitter, and share her stuff, like her stuff, put some comments, get the stuff going, right? Say how much she's amazing, get people doing it. You can still be her social media warrior if you can't afford the dollars. If you got more time than money, give her some time. You got more money than time, give her some money. Give her what you've got more of. Do that now. It does matter. Let me grab a couple comments if I could.
Yeah.
Patty says, Larry, are we moving to Kansas? I just need my tiny house and the freedom to grow my herbal medicines. So yes, that's good. So I think it's kind of cute.
I would happily welcome you, but I will tell you, we actually do not even have medical cannabis yet. So you might need to wait a little bit. I might need to get in the Senate first and improve some things, but eventually we'd love to have you.
There we go. Well, Square Table Generates, I was on his podcast. He says the Kansas City Attorney General is actually a Bible. That's what he says. So yes. Yeah. So, but he does like you though. He says, "Oh, I like her already. I'm huge in libertarian weed wing of the party. Kansas needs to legalize this post haste." So you are getting people who like you. So that's something positive. So speaking on that, what are your top 3 issues? And is one of them cannabis, or is that just a part but not number in the top 3?
Cannabis is definitely one of my top issues. We are one of the last 2 states to make this happen. I have worked for years trying to be reasonable with the legislative and give them, study after study and testimony after testimony and protest after protest of why this is medicine. And they still, just the other day, we had a bill that was brought to the table that one news outlet called the most restrictive medical bill in the country. And we thought, oh my gosh, it sucks, but whatever, here we are. They actually tabled it. They declined it because they said it was not restrictive enough.
Wow.
And so it's just, I'm at the point where I always wanted to help medical. And then of course, as a libertarian, turn around and fight for recreational, but I don't think that we're going to out conservative them. I think it's just fine to fight for recreational at this point. We're so far behind. So that is definitely a top issue. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. I have walked the streets and seen the people that are begging for this. And, they try to make it sound like it's like potheads, whatever. It's literally veterans. It's literally old ladies in scooters. It's inhumane at this point, honestly.
I remember when I was running for office in 2018, when I would cross the state, and when I would be upstate New York, again, in rural areas, I'd be at a town fair or a county fair or something. And it was always at a fair for some reason. There was always an older woman for some reason who come up to me and say, "I really hope you win, Larry." I said, "Why?" "Because I need my cannabis." They would say that. They would say, "It's the only way I can sleep. I need it for pain. I have chronic pain. I need it. And so now I have to have my son go buy it and I'm scared for him."
Yeah.
And I would say to myself, so in my state, our choice is an opioid that they might get addicted to, or they have to stay in pain and suffer, or they have to risk their kids going to jail. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And you're right. It wasn't like some crazy pothead hippie guy. It was never that guy. It was always an older woman. You're totally right.
Yeah, it's so sad. And at this point, with so many states passing it, there's so much data available on how it helps. They and we've provided it. We've submitted pages, and they just still are saying how it's the reason they gave this last time. And this is a talking point that I'm seeing on national news now. So the orders are coming down from higher ups, but they told us that if we legalize it, then there's going to be a run on Kansas land because China is going to buy Kansas land so that it can poison our children through our cannabis.
Wow.
That was the reason they gave.
Wow.
So that's what we're dealing with.
Chinese are smart. They're gonna buy our land and poison our kids through cannabis. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it was just on like the Today Show or something the other day, or someone texted me like, "Oh my gosh!"
And that wasn't like a Netflix movie. That was a real thing.
Yep. It's crazy. So cannabis definitely.
You've got some friends in the chat. Shelly says people who have the traumatic brain injury will use marijuana just to function. So yes, that was something. Thomas says, or you can volunteer. I can never get enough volunteers when I ran for Congress. Yes, if you live near that area, if you live near Wichita, and you can come by and help her door knock. If you live near Wichita, you can come by and do a sign wave with her. you can show up at one of the fairs or the events, please do so. Absolutely. So yes, thank you for that, Thomas. I always think that this is a national show so that not everyone lives near Wichita. So if you live near Wichita, Thomas is correct. Please volunteer, show up. She can use bodies always if you got some time. If you can't, though, please head over to our website, oliviahayse.com. Donate a couple bucks if you can. If you can't donate some bucks, no worries. You can still be her social media warrior. Or if you live near Wichita, show up. Showing up is always a good thing. You also have some Kansas Libertarians here. Faye says, proud Kansas Libertarian. There we go. There's one. There we go. You also have, is that W5MLR? I think that's right. Yes, we have Libertarians in Kansas. I'm proud to be one of them. Well, there we go.
Awesome.
We're rocking and rolling. So that's one. Do you have any other top issues that you're trying to deal with?
Yeah. So my second issue is, and I know this can be a big one, but I literally was asked about it last night. So we are still very much fighting for women's health, women's rights, reproductive health care, those type of things. It is.
It's funny you say that, because sometimes I look at where I live in New York, and while there's so many bad things in New York City, New York State, so many, that war is kind of over. So I sometimes don't really get that war is still going on outside of my bubble. So I'm glad when I hear you, I go, yeah, dummy. It's not, the whole world's not New York City, right? The whole world's not New York City. You got to get outside. Other stuff's happening. So thank you for saying that. Keep going, please.
Yes, definitely. So we're still fighting for they are trying to push the envelope with just not just, the big procedure everybody wants to talk about, but all kinds of little things leading up to that. And it's just, we have to, and even like, your gender care and just all that type of stuff. It's really heating up from a civil rights perspective in Kansas. And it's to the point where I have friends and family that like their kids don't feel safe here. They're like, we have to leave the place we've lived our whole lives because of how long it's been going on, and just feeling like they have no options, and just like the measures that the bills that they're trying to pass. And the governor did veto a lot of bills under this umbrella just last week, but they're going to keep trying. Right. And it's kind of like, it's stressful for certain groups of people. And so really standing with those folks and fighting for them. So definitely women's rights, reproductive rights, that would be my second biggest one to fight for. And then, honestly, just like economically, like taxes and stuff. I mean, there are so many, that's something that comes up, with they're trying to expand Medicaid, and they're trying to also pass a flat tax. And there's just all these things. So it's very heated. It's very like,
Kansas
drawn.
if I remember right, Kansas had a very big financial issue recently, last 5-10 years, like either was going broke or overspent or something like that, right? Well, there's some, I don't remember, but I remember in the news, there was some financial issue. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're just used to operating at a deficit,
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. And so, there's just, quite frankly, there's not enough money there's not enough money for all the things the government is trying to fund. And so, this is where I can agree with the other parties. I can agree with all the other candidates that I want taxes lowered, but how we want to go about them, how we want to accomplish these things are very different. So this is what I'm excited to be able to explain to people when I'm on the campaign trail, the libertarian solution to that. So yeah, just anything that I think can help businesses, help people economically. That's a big focus there.
So let me then ask right? This is a tough race. 3 people, third party, challenging, deep red state. How does someone like you make impact? Like, what do you got to do to make some impact here? It can't be easy.
Yeah. So I have an awesome team. I have a team put together that is already ready to go. My background is in marketing. So as far as like digital, social, design, I'm able to handle all of that. So that of course helps our bottom line. I have, a treasurer in place who has been our state party's treasurer for years. So nothing's going to go through the cracks there. I've got a lady who's like, her things she wanted to do on my campaign team was set up door knocking events. Like she wants to knock on every door in the district. So I really we are a young, energetic team, and we are professional, and we know what we're doing. And we've also utilized some of the state parties' resource and national parties' resources as well. I'm really only limited by cash. I know that sounds
Got
bad,
it.
but I am only
No,
limited by
it's
cash.
common.
Yeah, it's common in the LP, really. And the incumbent Republican, I'm not going to outspend her, but I can
Right.
probably out energize her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right.
not afraid to go to all of the events, and we're ready to do that. We're filling up the calendar now, and even like small events. Like, I spoke to a group last night that was all around zoning, and it was like maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 people, and I'm going to like neighborhood events and stuff like that. So there's no event too big or too small. I want to talk to everyone. And if I can't, I'll
Yeah,
have
but
someone on
the
my
thing you
team.
just brought up, though, is someone might say, why would she want to go to an event like that with only 10 or 15 people? Well, while that may be a small event, the people who show up to those events, they vote.
Yep.
Right? If you show up to your local zoning board, you vote, right? That's not just some random person off the street. Oh, there's a zoning board. Let me go have it. No, you vote. So the advantage is the people you're meeting at those, and those who can influence others to vote.
Yeah. And someone was asking me about my incumbent at that event last night. I have lived in her district. She has been my senator since 2018, I believe. And I have seen her, and I'm pretty active, right? I've seen her at 2 events, and they were $100 a plate type events. So it's just not common. So my incumbent, she lost by 3%, or she won by 3% last round.
Wow.
She won by 1,100 votes. So, and supposedly the person that ran as a Dem against her didn't really campaign. So if by some chance this ends up coming down to just me and her, that's doable. That's,
right. Right. I like that. That's good. So let me ask the last question if I could. What is a win? Is a win only you winning the seat, or is there something else that you would do that would also make it a win?
So a win for me would just be to open the door to more people in my area choosing to run for office or choosing to serve on boards. Even just growing the party. I mean, we already have such momentum. So just being an example for people, whether it's turning them on to libertarianism, or if they're already libertarian and they decide to go to the next step, getting people to dig in. I'm really big on like, what's your next step? Just one step at a time, and I think that if seeing me inspires other people or opens the door, even kind of how people that went before me have opened the door for me to feel like this is the right time, that would be a win for me, because any member of a duopoly we can get out of their seat, whether it's an appointed board or a state senate, and it's going to make a huge difference in Kansas. So if not me, then somebody else. Even an independent. And we have 2 brand new third parties that exist in Kansas now too. We have No Labels and United Kansas. So it's like we're the atmosphere is changing a little bit in far as Kansas. So
I like that. That's amazing. Joe says you are planting seeds. He's right. So before we wrap this up, anything you want to say as we wrap this up? By the way, guys, if you like what you're hearing, go check her out. Olivia Hayse, HAYSE.com. Something I missed, Olivia?
I don't think so. I'm going over my notes too, and I don't think so. I think we kind of covered everything. Unless
so
like
we
maybe
are rocking and rolling.
Yep.
I appreciate it. So guys, please click the like button. Please share this if you can. And of course, please check out Olivia at oliviahayse.com and follow her on Twitter at the Mama Marketer on Twitter. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the time you gave me. I will see you all very soon.